How's it going, YouTube? And welcome back to the grid. And I'm your host, Cardfight Grid. And today I have a Noble Grappler deck profile for you guys for V Premium, specifically Victor. And before we get into it, please do me a favor and like, comment, subscribe, and share this video to whoever you think would be interested in it. It helps the channel so much, and I'll appreciate it very much too. And with all that said, let's begin. So we run 4 Extreme Battler Victor for grade 3s. He's an Excel, 12k base, and has the auto effect when placed on Vanguard. Check the top 7 cards of your deck for a grade 2 or less Extreme Battler, and you can go ahead and call it to rear guard. And he has the auto Vanguard skill. When it attacks, Karen Blast 1 and Soul Blast 1, choose up to one of your rear guards and stand it. If that rear guard stood 2 or more times this turn by a card's ability, this unit gets +1 drive and until the end of this unit gets +1 drive until the end of the turn. So this even includes the time that you stood it with his effect. A very good card. This is the main thing that the whole deck is revolving around, and also this is the only grade 3 we run. So yeah, for Victor, let's go ahead and get into the grade 2s, and we run 4 Extreme Battler Dual Sledge. Has auto on rear guard. When it stands by a card's ability, perform one of the effects below according to the number of times it stood by a card's ability this turn. One time this unit gets plus 10k till the end of the turn. The second time, soul charge 1. Third time, until the end of the turn, this unit gets plus 10k, and your opponent cannot call sentinels from his or her hand to guardian his or her hand to guardian circle during the battle that this unit attacks. So it's a 9k. You pit him on most of the time on the Excel circle. And yeah, this is your main guy that you stand, but we do have other options that we can actually focus on restanding. So that's the nice thing about this deck. Most of the time back then it was just Dual Sledge. He was the main guy. You had to get him because he's the main guy you're gonna be restanding. Well, in this deck we actually have like 1 or 2 more targets. We have like 2 or 3 more targets, which is very nice. But you still want to max out on this guy because that Sentinel guard is pretty good. So we run a full playset of him. And then we run a full playset of Kick Typhoon. So very good skill. It's one of the ways that we restand our main focus, our main card that we want to restand. So Karen Blasting 1 is not too bad in this deck. We have multiple different ways, and all the other ways use similar or at least different costs, which is nice. So yeah, Kick Typhoon is a must-need playset in my opinion, just because it gives power and it restands. So we run a full playset, and then we also run a full playset of Cool Hank. Auto on Vanguard. When this unit attack hits, Soul Blast Soul Blast 1 and draw a card. Auto on rear guard. Once per turn, when this unit attacks, discard a card from your hand and stand one of your other rear guards. Like I said, this is another rear guard restander for the deck, but instead of Counter Blast, you're gonna be discarding a card from hand. The Vanguard skill is actually pretty good, just because even if it costs you a Soul Blast, if you ever get Dual Sledge during the game, he's going to be soul charging for you, so it's nice. And yeah, Soul Blast for a draw 1 is not bad whatsoever. You try and get the most hand advantage you can in this deck, so it helps a lot. So we run a full playset of him. And then for our last grade 2, we run 3 Extreme Battler Sazanda. And Sazanda has when placed on Vanguard, look at the top 5 cards of your deck, choose up to 1 grade 2 or less Extreme Battler in its card name, and call it to rear guard, then shuffle your deck. Auto on rear guard. When your other unit stands from a card's ability, and if this unit is on an additional rear guard circle, which Excel Circle. Until the end of the turn, that unit gets plus 5k and this unit gets plus 5k. So it's a very it's a very good card. It stacks up power a lot. He can be most of the time he's not your focus on restanding, but if you have 2 Excel Circles, you definitely want him on the other one, because you'll be pushing very hard. Most of the time when you're swinging this deck, the rear guards that are be restanding your main focus, restanding your main rear guard that focus, they'll be swinging for low numbers and they're easy to guard. But if you have this guy just sitting in the far left in that Excel Circle, just gathering up more and more power, and on top of that, your main restander will be gaining plus 5k every time he restands as well. So most of the time you get Sazonda plus 15k just off of his own effect, and the rear guard plus 15k, which is really nice. So yeah, we run him at 3. 4 is good, but 3 was like kind of like the perfect number. So yeah, 3 it is. Yeah, but for sure put him in your deck. Amazing addition to this deck. So that's our last grade 2, and then for our grade 1s, we're gonna run 1 Extreme Battler Sea Saucer. Oh no. Oh, Saucer. I apologize for that. Saucer. Yeah. Saucer. Sorry if I'm butchering that name. Has auto Vanguard. When placed, discard a card from your hand, draw a card, look for your pieces, or just for Victor or Crate 3. And then auto on rear guard. Once per turn, when this unit stands, this unit's on an additional rear guard circle, you may have this unit get plus 10k to end turn. So this is another restander for the deck. So you have Dual Sledge, you have this, and yeah, so this is one of your other options, but most of the time you want to go for Dual Sledge, but it's fine if you don't, because even if you have this and you have Sazonda on the board on Excel Circle as well, then this guy's going to start pumping out numbers and it's going to be nice. So we just run one of. Running multiple is not bad, but it's not necessary for the deck, just because you have a lot of searching with Sazonda and with Victor that you'll get Dual Sledge most of the time. This is just your backup. So we only run it as a 1 of. And then for our next grade 2, or grade 1, sorry, we run Unknown Adamansky. Sorry, Unknown Adamansky, which is auto on rear guard, has the effect when placed, counterblast 1, stand one of your rear guards, and attack your opponent's Vanguard with that unit. At the end of the battle, it attacked. If the attack did not hit, stand that unit. Stand that unit. So Victor counts for how many times, and Dual Sledge just counts how many times they attacked and stand with an effect. So most of the time it's going to be standing already. So that's the restanding part, and the beginning effect is kind of irrelevant, but still, you never know. But it's nice to swing with it, and if it doesn't hit, which most of the time you're depending on how much damage your opponent's at and the state of the game, they'll probably guard it, or they'll just let it through and hope for a defensive trigger. But if they have a lot of guard in their hand, they'll guard it, and yeah, that counts as a restand. So another way to get a restand off. And also which is in a grade 1 though, which is really nice. So kick is our grade 2 that does it for a counterblast, and then Unknown's our grade 1 that does it with a counterblast. So it's really nice. So we run only 2 of it. And then for our next grade 1, we run 3 Clay Doll Mechanic. Now Clay Doll Mechanic has the skill when placed on rear guard, if you have a total of 4 or less cards in your hand and rear guards, draw a card, which is nice. So it's a little bit of a comeback card. It doesn't give you all the resources and everything to come back, but it does help. And it has auto on rear guard. When you counterblast, retire this unit to countercharge 1. That's pretty important. You do counterblast a lot in this deck with Typhoon, Unknown, Victor. So the counterblast starts stacking up after a while, and having a way to countercharge is pretty relevant. You don't need a full playset. Running 3 is pretty nice just because you'll be counterblasting at most twice a turn, and so having one of these each turn is really nice. And also, you know, you might heal throughout the game. You might heal off a counterblast or damage that's already counterblast. So yeah, running 3 is actually pretty good. So 3 of him. For our next grade 1, we run 4 Extreme Battler Garbon Gun. Sorry about that. He has a act rear guard once per turn. When it attacks, if you have a Vanguard with Victor in its card name, you may Soul Blast one, stand one of your rear guards, and this unit gets plus 5k until the end of the turn. It's another restander, and nice thing about this one is it actually uses Soul. So like I said, we have so many ways to restand in this deck, it's not even funny. And all of them, they use different types of they spend different types of resource to make that restanding happen. Except for Unknown and Kick. They both do Counterblast 1, but besides that, you have Unknown, Kick for Counterblast 1. You have you have this guy right here for Soul Blast 1, and then you also have Cool Hank for the discarding 1, and then also Victor, which is Counterblast and Soul Blast 1. So yeah, this that's why the first effect on Dose Sledge to Soul Charge 1 is actually really relevant in this deck. So yeah, we run a full playset of him. And then for our next grade 1, we run 4 Extreme Battler Ursid. And he is our grade 3 searcher. So he has the on place on Vanguard rear guard. Check the top 5 cards of your deck, find a grade 3, and then shuffle your deck and discard a card if you add a card. And then continuous on rear guard. If your unit was stood by a card's ability this turn, then this unit gets plus 5. Plus 5 is guaranteed, no doubt about it. And also, yeah, you need 4 grade 3 searchers just because 1, it's Extreme Battler, so you can actually search it off Sazanda or Victor, which is really nice. And then 2, yeah, you only run 4 Victor, so it's very, very, very important that you run a full playset of Airshad. It's very important. So I would not cut this down to 1, 2, 3, not even to 3. I would not dare, just because you only run 4 grade 3s and you need to get that Victor ASAP. So we run a full playset of him. And that's it for our grade 3s. And then for our triggers, we're gonna go ahead and run 4 red lightning, so 4 crit, and then 4 more crits of shiny. So in total we run 8 triggers. Yeah, nothing scarier than a restanding unit that has a crit on him. So it's a very good feeling, and also, yeah, it closes out games pretty quick once you start stacking those crits. And we've got to remember that Victor has triple drive, or he's going to have triple drive majority of the time. So yeah, checking a crit is more likely than not. And then sometimes they even check 2 crits, and that's insane. That just gets really scary. And by the end of the turn, if your opponent's still living, he has like no hand whatsoever. So we run 8 crits, 4 heals. Now, I know a lot of people wouldn't agree too much in this deck for the 4 heals, just because if you have the 4 heal guardians, just because if you have a grade 3 in your hand, you can't G-assist for a grade 3. But just remember that when you're in your grade 2 turn, use up your heal guardians. If you have a lot of them, then it's up to you whether or not you want to try and survive another grade 2 turn. But most of the time you do want to use them up so you can just G-assist for the Victor if you don't have it yet. But yeah, we run 4 heal guardians, which has a auto skill when this unit is placed on guardian. Guardian Circle, if you did not ride a grade 3 yet this fight, you can go ahead and choose one of the effects, which is give your Vanguard plus 10k until the end of turn, or choose one of your opponent's units and it gets -2 crit until the end of battle. And it also has the auto skill when this unit's placed on rear guard circle from hand. If you do not have in your damage zone, if you do not have any cards, put a card from the top of your deck into your damage zone, which is really good. In premium, you definitely want to run a playset of him, just because you do not want to get damage denied, especially in Novas where they use so much counterblast. But yeah, in this deck you don't want to, you're fine having a lot of counterblast, so you're fine if your opponent's trying to push you, but not too hard. So yeah, the Heal Guardians in my opinion is very necessary just for that -2 crit if they try and get too crazy. So we run a whole playset. And then for our last trigger, we're gonna run 4 Twin Blader, which is a draw sentinel. It's just a sentinel which has an auto on Guardian Circle. Sorry about that. Discard a card from your hand, and one of your units cannot be hit until the end of turn. The draw is very helpful. You do need the draw. Tried the crit. Makes the deck more sacky, of course, but sometimes that 30k does not do it. And also getting the draw helps a lot with this deck. Seeing your pieces more, finding your pieces a lot faster. It's a rear guard centric deck, so having certain cards in your hand does make a better aggressive turn than having just whatever you got. So the draw triggers does help with that, just with adding to hand. So we run a full playset of that. And then for our starting Vanguard, we run 1 Battle Riser. And for this deck, we have the Quick Shield, of course, and we go Excel 2. Excel 2, like I said, for those draws, man, you really need them. You need to find your pieces as soon as possible. Excel 2 helps with that. And I know, like, Excel 1 is nice, the 10k does help, but it's just a 5k power, and to be honest, we have that covered and more with Sazanda now. So yeah, Excel 2 is the way to go in this deck, because you want to get that draw, you want to find your pieces to restand. Mostly you're trying to find your restanders. That's the main thing. Yeah, and that's it for this Victor deck V deck profile. I hope you guys enjoyed. Please leave any comments down below for any more questions that you'll have about this deck. And also, if you want to check out a match with this deck, this is actually the build that we use for that match. That we use for that match, and I have that video in my channel. So if you guys want to check that out, and I might come out with another build later on, still working a little bit more on this, but so far this is the build that's been working out, but there is some kinks in between. So if you guys find a better build, or if you find any other cards that actually improves the deck, please let me know. I'm all ears. And with all that said, until I see you next time, peace.